awesome.
Yes, it's awesome, folks. It's the dude in the housecoat Justice Truth. The housecoat chat rant today is going to be a doozy. Grab your coffee cup and let's just get right to it. Let's have a sip, folks. Anyways, how's everybody liking the foreign interference, huh? The foreign interference report, everything that we've had, been told, and everything else. If you've been down the rabbit hole of the history of all the foreign interference that we got going on, and you are up to this point here where you've seen our government reacting to the situation that has been presented to the Canadian public, what can I say other than find out who they are, charge them, trial, and punishment. That is what's needed. And for the record, since it's no longer in Canada, I think the death penalty should be brought back for treason, right? We can't have our country being taken down by people with their own self interests. It's bad enough that we have a leader who's refusing to resign in Justin Trudeau, but that's an entirely different point. He may be the one that benefited the most. That's why we had the snap election in 2019 or 2020. Remember that? Yes, folks, everything stinks, and the government's doing nothing but gaslighting us and mistreating us for the people that we are. We are the taxpayers of Canada. We deserve answers because our, at least mine's way up to here and beyond, folks. Just like a boom, explosion after explosion, folks, of the craziness that is going on in our federal government. Now, I am only saying this because I think there needs to get out there. People need to wake up. And I'm just a dude in a housecoat who watches CPAC, not daily, but I watch a lot of it. And I see the corruption, I see the mismanagement, I see the malfeasance in the institution of our democracy, and it is stinking to high heaven. I mean, first off, let's get a shout out to Bev Oda, the original person that got suspended from government for overcharging orange juice to us taxpayers. Well, folks, this is now in the billions. The billions. Since 2015, everything that we have seen and heard from Mr. Sunnyways is leaving us burnt to the crisp. And here we are just lollygagging along, going, oh, well, somebody will do something. No, it's up to you. I'm going to point to you, folks. That's right. It's up to me as well. My MP is Todd Doherty. I will be sending another email, letter, whatever, post on X, anything to get their attention. We as Canadians and our taxpayers should just be rising up in arms over this foreign interference on top of everything else that's been piling on to us as Canadians, right? I mean, think about all this, folks. The people that stole the $20 million worth of gold out of the airport were released the next day. But the people that were at Coots 4, are two of them are still locked up and their trials delayed again. And interesting fact, folks, and I'm not going to post pictures or do any of this fancy stuff that a lot of people do, but if you remember the table that the RCMP took a photo of all those weapons that those guys supposedly had, well, guess what? Four, folks, were there. Just four. The RCMP admitted it. That photo op of that table with all those firearms and gear was a abomination and a huge, how do I put it, distrust by the RCMP. Yes, distrust, because the RCMP distrusted us, the public, to believe them on their charges against the Coots 4. Also, folks, remember that the RCMP sabotaged equipment, right? And now I know it's whatever, but they owned up to it. I hope they fixed it, paid for the price for the repairs. But that is a tactic that they should not have used. They could have simply just put wheel blocks on those tires and they could have solved it without actually harming anybody's equipment. But I digress. Now let's move on slightly, folks. Let's just move on to the city of Calgary. What the heck is up with the water issues? I can't get over it. Seeing today the fire department issued a blanket ban on all businesses to do any kind of welding, fabricating, hot roof work, whatever. They did a blanket ban across the city, considering that most of these people are professionals at what they do and they already have their fire safety protocols in place, regardless of the water restrictions or not in the city of Calgary. I used to work in a sawmill, and I could tell you honestly that when the forestry clamped down on us, we did the job diligently and by the book to make sure nothing burnt at all, over and above what we already do in the forest industry in a mill. And I'm speaking of Canfor and the great crew of Plateau. I know all you steel workers out there are awesome, and I hope you continue up. That's correct. Continue up. And by that, I mean life is better. Continue up. Yes, I'm slurping more coffee. Well, that's because I love coffee, and the lovely lady made more coffee. Just like the artwork that you see behind me, the clouds with the lights and all that. I did the outline lights. That's me. Anyways, hopefully my new studio, whenever I get to work on it, will look a lot better. This was all sort of trial and error and thrown together because I was excited to try and do something new with my life, try and start a podcast or even do it as a hobby. It don't matter. But meanwhile, since I'm here talking about my podcast, I want to give a shout out to the pleb. I really appreciate you, pleb. I thank you for all your entertainment, your news, and everything else. You definitely brought a lot of humor, and you definitely brought out a lot of uh, badness out of the liberals and whatnot, and saying we need to get rid of Justin. I agree, let's get rid of Justin, but I think all 338 need to go. Right? Shout out to Cat Canada. Shout out to Street Politics Canada. Shout out to Jeremy Mackenzie and the boys of Diego Loon. That is right, folks. 5 court cases, all dismissed, basically all proven that he's not guilty of any of the charges brought forward. Anyways, to the GOAT, you rock, and also to Jeremy and Morgan. Positive vibes. That's all I could say. Positive vibes. And to the rest of the Diagoloo group that is out there doing goodness and helping out one another and trying to get better in shape. I would like to thank Diagoloo for encouraging me to work out and be better myself despite my health issues. And yes, I am trying my darndest. Anyhow, enough for the pleasures and all the niceties that I just set out and everything else that I just said. And I love talking. I do. Anyway, everybody out there, since I'm going to try and keep these about 10 minutes, I want to ask you all that if you don't have a pet, please adopt. Please rehome a pet. Do whatever if you're interested in a pet. Go to an SPCA shelter, do anything like that. Be kind to animals, be kind to people, be a warrior in the garden, right? You know what? You can be a pacifist, but if you can't resort to violence to help yourself, then you're just a coward. Just step out of the way. Be a warrior in the garden, folks. That is correct. Don't go out there starting stuff, but definitely defend yourself. That's the way I look at it, and that's the way it should be. Again, with everything that's going on in our great, wonderful country of Canada, I just have to ask my government, what are you doing on all this shenanigans, craziness of all the crime that's going on, other than to talk lip service in the House of Commons and jailing and attacking your so-called political opponents, criminals, whatever you want to call them, because you don't like what they say or what they've done in a freedom convoy, so you must punish them through the courts. While I hate this the most, especially when I hear this about Tamara Lynch's court case and Chris Barber's, I believe. Women that were sexually assaulted in the area of Ottawa or Ontario, their court cases were dismissed and let go to make way for Little Miss Mischief, Tamara Lynch, right? And what exactly did she do? She didn't hurt anybody. She didn't rape anybody. She didn't punch anybody. and she most certainly didn't kill anyone. But yet, these people that were victims of crime are swept aside because the powers that be said, make it so. This is from, and I will say, oh, I want to remember his name, Randy Hillier. Yes, Randy Hillier, in an interview, stating this about the court system in Ontario from a top, I'll say district attorney, but that's not what we call him. I think top prosecutor, lawyer, about people going to court in Canada. You are a fool or a fiend before the courts. You are not innocent nor guilty before the courts. A fool and a fiend. Anyways, folks, I did want to try and keep these short, and I just want to say positive vibes to everybody out there, especially you, Club, and especially Jeremy Mackenzie and Morgan for their court cases. Positive vibes, folks. Let's make the world a better place. And don't forget to punish your MP by giving them a call. Thank you, folks, and good day.